those people that are standing at the back, do you want to? There's plenty of seats at the front if you want to come and sit
Jest
down.
trochę miejsc na dole, jeżeli ktoś chce zejść.
Brian będzie mówić o Joomla 3.0. Magiczny magic number, magiczny numer.
Okay. So, before I start, just to explain who I am and a little apology. And the apology is that I speak no Polish. So I will try to speak a little bit slower than I normally do. If you don't understand something, tough. You can try throwing things at me, but I duck pretty well. This is a big desk. So a little bit about me first. So I am one of the original founders of Joomla. I live in England, and I spent most of my time working as a Joomla consultant. I've done some work for the government. I've done some work for an organisation in Britain that has a huge building that doesn't appear on Google Maps. One of my biggest clients, I'm not allowed to say who they are, but they're finger-licking good. And they use Joomla as well. But I also spend a lot of my time traveling the world, coming to Joomla days. So far this year, I've traveled 80,000 kilometers, and probably by the end of the year, it might be close to 250,000. So I spend a lot of my time in airports. But this is the first time that I've been to Poland. But that's where my grandmother is from. In 1890, my grandmother left Siemiatic and came to England, and unfortunately, she never taught me any Polish. So, but that's enough about me. What I'd like to do now is just to wake everybody up. Can everybody stand up? Okay. Now, if you have never built a website with Joomla, sit down. Okay? If you have only built 3 websites with Joomla, sit down. If you have built less than 10, sit down. Okay? If you have only been using Joomla for 1 year, sit down. Oh, no, you can stay. Once you sit down, you have to stay sitting down. If you have never built your own templates, sit down. Wow. If you have not built more than 30 websites with Joomla, sit down. We still have some people standing. If you've been lying for the last 5 minutes, sit down. Okay, everybody sit down. But that was pretty good. A lot of Joomla days, it's people, everybody sits down at the first question. So that's good. So I just wanted to explain a little bit about the growth of Joomla. But those of you who have this will see that the next 10 slides are all in the middle of here. So just a little bit. Joomla started in the end of 2005, and since then it's seen a massive growth. This is just the main Joomla.org website, and we can see that it's now at about 7.5 million hits a month. There's a magazine online in English and other languages with a lot of stuff that's growing really big, and Joomla days all over the world. I think this weekend it's here in Poland and in New York. Next weekend is Spain and Italy and Turkey. And the weekend afterwards is Germany, and on and on. So it's not just groups. There's groups like you all over the world meeting up. The Joomla forums are huge. Over 560,000 members. That's not including the spammers. We can add another 0 if we put the spammers on there. But there's a lot of people using Joomla. Joomla itself has had 33.5 million downloads. But that's only part of the number, because that's only the downloads from the Joomla website. And of course, there are downloads directly from your web host. So we don't really know how many Joomla websites there are in the world. There are some statistics that say just under 3% of all the websites in the world are Joomla, which is a pretty huge number. There's a Joomla extensions directory. The number of extensions on there fluctuates. It's around about 10,000. I can't show 10,000 on the slide because there's not enough space for the extra digits. You can tell I'm not a designer. I would have thought about that. But really, what Joomla is all about is about real people. These are three Joomla people from New England. And I just wanted to Joomla is about people, not about software. Yeah, it's about the people that use it, people that create it, people that teach it. So some of you may have heard that Joomla 3 is coming out. So I wanted to show you some of the key things that you're going to see in Joomla 3. So the first thing is there's evolution. This is a fairly classic picture. We've gone from the Stone Age to the computer age. But today, it's not just the desktop computer. It's the mobile computer. And we can't forget about that. This was then, and this is now. And our cats love to use our computers wherever they may be. Even iPods, or iPad, or even the new iPhone 5. And there's always one cat that just has to read the latest news. So we mustn't put our head in the sand. Our websites must be ready to work on all devices. The numbers are growing, and the numbers differ in different countries. But depending on your website and the subject of your website, you might be looking at between 10 and 20% of people visiting your website are not using a regular desktop computer. So if your website doesn't look nice or even usable on one of those, on a tablet or a mobile phone, you're missing out. You're missing out on potential users, and they're not going to come back to you. So this mobile is growing, and it's growing at an incredible rate. In some countries in the world, mobile is far higher than desktop. There are more people accessing the internet in Africa and China on a mobile phone than there are using a desktop computer. Now, you might think I'm in Poland. What do I care about someone in China or Africa? But the numbers are growing everywhere in the world. So with Joomla 3 is designed to be what's called responsive. And that means it will adapt depending on the device you're using. So let's have a look. So here we can see big screen, small screen, iPad, iPhone, portrait, landscape. It just works. It's not zoomed out into a tiny little image that you then pinch and pinch and pinch and pinch and pinch, and then eventually you can see it. It's designed to work on all screens. But it's also a lot faster than previous versions of Joomla. And where you'll really see the speed is when you install Joomla. The installation of Joomla 3 is a lot faster than it was before. So which is faster? Usain Bolt or installing Joomla 3? Usain Bolt or installing Joomla 3? Well, let's have a look. Let's start the clock, and let's see how quickly we can install Joomla 3. Get set. Go. And the time was a new world record of 9:42. Those of you who are particularly geeky will recognize the 42 and the 30 at the end. But that was a little bit fast. Let's actually have a look at it in real time. Okay, so all you have to do now is you enter the site name. Optionally enter the meta description if you want, because you can do this later on. Enter your admin email. You can see now Joomla is still offering you admin as the default, but you can easily change that. Type in your password. Enter your database details. Then you select one of the many different types of sample data. You check everything's okay. You click next. And that's it. You're done. I think that was about 1 minute and 4 seconds. So it's a lot faster to get started. And that's what you're going to see throughout using Joomla 3, that the speed of using it has really changed. By redesigning things, by changing the screens, everything is much faster to use. For those of you that were with us last night, we did have rather a lot to drink. And I certainly need to get some water inside me to carry on. So let's have a look inside at what Joomla 3 actually looks like now that it's installed. This is the new login screen. It's kind of the same sort of thing. It's just redesigned. It's a little bit prettier. Now this is the old Joomla 1.5 dashboard, which most of you will recognize. And it was there for about 3 years. It was pretty familiar. This is the Joomla 2.5 dashboard. Didn't really change that much. And this is the Joomla 3 dashboard. Completely different. But actually, it's not really that different. The big icons that were in the middle, and now there is a list here, and the things that were in little sliding boxes over on the right-hand side are now displayed all open in the middle. And there's a couple of other things that will have changed. Some of the stuff that was in the top right is now in the bottom left. Why? Why not? And you've got a couple of other things right at the very top. One of the ones, you can't really see it from this demo, where it says Joomla 3 right in the very top left, that's the site name of my particular site. Particularly useful having that open right there at the top of the screen. If you're working on multiple websites at once and you've got multiple tabs, there's nothing worse than deleting the content on the wrong websites. Hands up who's ever done that. Who's typed in or removed content on the wrong website? Come on, own up. Yeah. Yeah, we've all done it. So we've put the site name right there, right at the front. But that's what Joomla 3 looks like on the desktop. Now, I did say it's responsive. That's what it looks like on the mobile. Everything that you can do on the desktop, you can do on the mobile. Yeah? The menus collapse, they shrink, everything fits, and you can do every function. You're not limited in what you can do. If you wanted to build your entire website just using your phone, you could do. You'd be pretty stupid, but you could do it. But the important thing is that, you know, it doesn't matter where you are. If someone tells you there's a mistake on the website, or you need to get some new information on the website, or anything like that, you can just pick up your phone. As long as you've got an internet connection, you can go ahead and do the work. Let's look at creating content on the website. And after all, it's a CMS. It's about creating content. So creating content should be the most important thing that you do on your site and the thing that you do the most often. So this is what the article editor looked like in Joomla 1.5. Fairly familiar. This is what it looked like in Joomla 2.5. It was kind of the same, except there was one big change. Look at this nice big text area we have here. And now look. Why? Because we put a lot more information up above the top, which isn't really that useful, whereas here we had it on the side. So that was a design decision that was taken that was wrong. It didn't work that well. So this is what it looks like in Joomla 3. Yeah, content is the main thing that you see. Yeah? Instead of all those sliding options down the right-hand side, you've now got tabs across the top. Ooh, tabs. You'll see a lot of ooh tabs in Joomla 3. You don't see many ooh sliders in Joomla 3, but there's lots of ooh tabs. So everything has now been, content is the main thing that you see. Yeah? The area for you to create your text and add your images is right there in the front. Now, some people may have noticed, it's just at the bottom of the screen here, it says images and links. This is a feature where you can add intro images and main screen images, not in your article, but directly underneath as a separate feature. It's incredibly powerful and incredibly useful when you use it. It's incredibly powerful and useful that it's been in Joomla 2.5 for a year, but no one knew about it because it's in a slider. So we've taken it out of the slider and we've put it right on the front screen. So I think people will start to use that more. I hope so anyway. But one of the important things, as I said, we've taken things off the screen and hidden them in tabs so that users don't suddenly come to it and go, what am I supposed to put here? Because that's what I get. I train a lot of people, and what I always tell them is, when they say to me, you didn't tell me what to put there. I say, okay. I have a rule. Anybody whose mobile phone goes off, it's mine. Nicholas, remember when I said I wasn't sure if the alarm was turned off and I was going to set it to it later? Yeah. That was it. So, so I have a rule. When someone says to me, what am I supposed to put in that option? This whole long list of options. And I say, did Brian tell you to touch it? And if Brian didn't tell you to touch it, then don't. Well, so now we've actually made it harder for you to see the things that Brian said don't touch. So hopefully I won't need to say, don't touch it anymore. I'm sure there's a rap song or something where I should break out now and go, don't touch it. But I can't sing, so. So we've made a lot of changes there, here on this main screen, but also it also works on mobile. Yeah, it's exactly the same thing. Everything that you can do on the desktop view, you can do on the mobile view, without pinching, without panning around your screen. It's all there at the correct size. So to sum up, Joomla 3 will work on your mobile, on your desktop, on a TV or any device that will connect to the internet. And it doesn't matter whether you're in the office, on the beach, whether you're traveling, whether you're young or whether you're old, it just works. And that is the big change of Joomla 3. So how have we done this? Well, not we, it's how have you done it? How has everybody who contributes to Joomla been able to make Joomla 3 work in this new responsive way? Well, there's a secret ingredient. Well, it's not some secret, I'm going to tell you. And it's called Bootstrap. Those of you who have not heard of it, Bootstrap is some geeky code, CSS type stuff. We don't really need to know too much about it. It's created by people who work for Twitter, so they know a little bit about how things work on the internet. And mainly, it means that it's HTML5, it's jQuery. Yes, Joomla does now include jQuery. So you're not going to have to install a module with jQuery and another module with jQuery and another module with jQuery and end up with 27 different versions of jQuery all loading on your website at once just so that you could have an image go. So it's all built in there now, so hopefully all the module developers will stop shipping 27 different versions of jQuery and just use the one that's in the core. It's CSS3, which allows you to do all sorts of funky things like spinning heads and other useful things. It's modern, it works on all devices, and it's adaptive and it's responsive. It's not about creating a different mobile template. It's one template for all that adapts to the screen size. So what are the toys that Joomla 3 gives you? Well, it's all about the design and the user experience and the user interface. This is the article manager. It looks fairly similar to the article manager before, just things have moved into different places. But one thing that you can do now is, well, there's one column missing from this screen, which you used to see, which was the one where you could change the order that things were going to appear in, which was this really nice up arrow and down arrow. It was great fun if you wanted to move something from the bottom to the top. You go, click, screen redraw, it's up one. Click, screen redraw. Click, screen redraw. Click. Okay. So you could do that. If you really knew what you were doing, there was a trick, and you could type the numbers in. But you couldn't tab between them because the tabs went off, so it took a long time and a lot of clicks. We've changed that for Joomla 3. Have a look at this. Change the ordering. Pick up the article you want to move. Drop it in. Now, it may seem only a little thing, but it's going to save you time. And you will suddenly, after using Joomla 3 for a while, be going, why did we never do that before? And the answer why we never did it before is because nobody thought of doing it before. And now that somebody has, we can do it. Yay! It will save a lot of time. And it's little things like that that you'll keep coming across while you're using Joomla 3 that have made changes and make things faster for you to work with. So for developers, what does it mean? Well, the one thing I want to tell developers, and I'm looking specifically at someone sitting on the front row here called Nicholas, and actually I suppose it applies to Radek as well, is that you are not designers. Yeah, you can write amazing code that does great things, whether it's displaying data in a directory or backing up your website, but you're not a designer. You're not. Trust me, you're really not. You can try really hard, and you get it almost right, but it's still not quite right. This is a wheel. These are some more wheels. And despite those wheels working really well and working well for thousands of years, developers like to redesign everything. Don't. When you're using a Joomla, installing components on your website, how many of your components use different interfaces? They all look different. When you switch from one to the other, the manager list looks different. The icons look different. The dashboard looks different. Why? Because nobody gave the tools to the developers to make them look the same. And that's the big change in Joomla 3. The tools are now there for developers to make all their screens look consistent. There are icons and glyphs built in, so that all the developer has to do is to say icon home, and it will use the first one on that list. Yeah? Icon new, and it will use the one below the home one, the new article. And that makes a big difference because a lot of developers would go, oh, I need some icons. Google free icons. Oh, yes, that one looks nice. I'll have that one. Oh, I need another icon. Oh, yes, that one looks nice. I'll have that one. Of course, none of them look even remotely connected, and every developer chose a different set. Well, developers still can choose their own icons, but why? We're giving you them. So hopefully, when you switch between components with Joomla 3, everything's going to start to look the same. What does that mean? it means that in terms of you teaching someone to use Joomla or you using Joomla, the learning curve is lower. It means that everybody will be able to go, I know what I have to do on this. So for developers, it's going to save you time for support. It's going to save you time writing documentation because there's less things that you need to teach people. You can even do all those icons with just CSS as well. It's got a grid layout, great usability, and it's going to be responsive as well. That's all part of the toolkit that's available for developers to use. If anyone has an iPhone, you'll know that almost every app on an iPhone kind of works the same. Yeah, things are in the same place. And that's because Apple are really, really strict about what you can do and what you can use and where you can put things. And they give iPhone developers the tools to do that. Well, with Joomla 3, we're giving developers the tools, but we're not being as strict. Yeah, if you want to go and do your own thing, you still can. You're a fool, but you still can. But we're giving the developers the tools, and that's going to make life easier for everybody. And of course, it's responsive as well. So developers, use those new toys, please. What about for designers? What does Joomla 3 mean for designers? Well, again, designers have got that same toolkit. Your templates can go on a diet. If you look at a typical template, and I'm looking across at you, and how big is the CSS folder, the JavaScript folder, and possibly even the framework folder for your template? And typically, they're pretty big. Because you've got to do everything yourself. You've got to do all those views, you've got to do all the CSS, because the core of Joomla it's got CSS, but it's not really got everything you can do funky. Well, with Joomla 3, we can go on a diet. This is the same guy. Well, the internet says it's the same man, so it must be true. It's on the internet. And your templates can now, typically, your CSS folder is going to shrink. Your JavaScript folder might even disappear, especially if it only had in jQuery. Just one version, please. And the framework may or may not exist at all, because you may now just use the default built-in Bootstrap framework that it's there for. So developers, designers, you can dump that hard hat. You can make life easier for yourself. If you use your brain, you don't sit on the sidelines or sit at the back of the room, but get involved and actually use the tools that Joomla 3 is now giving you. Because Joomla 3 is giving you the grids, it's giving you the frameworks, it's giving you the responsiveness, it's doing all that stuff that you used to have to sit down and do yourself. It's all there. It's built in. Just have to use it. Now, some people do say, but a Bootstrap template, a Bootstrap website, they all look the same. Yeah? They don't. Yeah? There's plenty of websites out there you can go to, and you can see the different types of websites that people have built. There's nothing that you couldn't build before that you can't build with Bootstrap. There are the traditional Bootstrap website has a black bar across the top. So everyone goes, it's a Bootstrap website. Well, if you go to my blog, I've got a big black bar across the top. And it's not Bootstrap. So it's just a black bar. It doesn't mean it's Bootstrap. It's because somebody liked the big black bar across the top. So you can do whatever funky design you did before, but now you can do it quicker and easier and with less code. And trust me, I'm not a designer. So I just go by what other people do. So the next question, the elephant in the room. Is this another upgrade? Is it a migration? I like to think of it as an upgradation. Or maybe it's a migrate. The answer is, well, there is no real answer. Let me explain. This was the release life of Joomla 1.5. And then we have Joomla 2.5, which is what we call a long-term release. After 2.5, Joomla 3 comes out. Now, Joomla 3, you see there it's a different color. that means it's a short-term release. It means that there will be bug fixes for Joomla 3.0 and security fixes, but in 6 months' time, Joomla 3.1 will come out. And show that. You'll see when Joomla 3.1 comes out, Joomla 3.0 disappears. There will be no more bug fixes or security fixes to 3.0. Why? Because 3.1 is the bug fix. And to move from the between short-term releases definitely is click done. But to move from the short-term release, to move from a long-term release like 2.5 to another long-term release is going to be a bit harder. How much harder? That's still to be seen. It really is going to depend on how much external components you're using and whether your template is doing anything funky. Now, my personal website only has 2 components installed. One of them is a Kiba backup, and one of them is JCE for creating the contents. Everything else on my personal site is pure core Joomla and a very funky template. So for me to move to 3.0, the content's going to be like that. The template's going to need a bit of work because things have changed, views have changed and stuff like that. But everything else is just going to be like that, and both JCE and Akiba Backup are Joomla 3 ready already. So that's not really a problem. But using lots of other components, yeah, I'm going to have to wait for those components to be tested and proven to be ready, and some of those will need some minor tweaks for the developers to create. So do you need to upgrade your Joomla 2.5 website to Joomla 3.0? The answer to that is no. You do not need to do it because Joomla 2.5 is being supported right through till the end of 2013. So there'll be security fixes, bug fixes, maybe even some small feature releases that go in the 2.5 tree all the time that 3 is being released. Sounding a little bit complicated, I know. It hurts your head. It definitely hurts my head thinking about it. I think for me, the rule is going to be, and this is just my personal rule, it's not an official policy of Joomla. All my existing websites that are in Joomla 2.5 are going to stay in Joomla 2.5. There's no reason for me to change them. Any brand new website that I build, I will probably start to build those. Assuming that if I'm using if those new websites need a component, that component is available for 3. If it's not, I'll quite happily build in 2.5. But I definitely am not going to be looking at upgrading any 2.5 sites to 3. Unless there's one that might have a screaming desire for some new usability feature that's in 3. And then if you bend my arm really tightly behind my back and sort of force me and put a lot of money in my pocket, then I might upgrade those. But as a general rule, no. 3 is for brand new websites and for you to learn and play with all the goodies. Yeah? It's not for you to go, oh dear, I've got to upgrade all my websites again. Because Joomla 2.5 is pretty much rock solid. It's installed on millions of websites around the world. It's been out there for quite a while now. And most of the bugs and the tweaks and the idiosyncrasies, that's a hard word. Most of the bugs and the tweaks and the weird things have all been ironed out now. But Joomla 3, of course, it's cutting edge. And whenever you use something cutting edge, you're likely to, not get your head cut off. It's going to be a little bit wobbly. Yeah? It's going to take a while for all the things to get ironed out. Because remember, there are millions of people who use Joomla, but actually there's not that many people who test it and contribute to the development of it. So it's only when it gets out in the real world that we can really start to find all the things that maybe work exactly as they were intended. So at the end of the day, it's up to you what you do. Yeah, Joomla 2.5, it's not we're not Apple. You're not going to switch on your device tomorrow, your website tomorrow, and find a big message saying, you must upgrade, click here, and find that your country has moved to another country because we've moved the maps and your house is now in the middle of a river. And that what was the really Chinese restaurant at the end of your street is now a pub. And the farm, because it was called Airport Farm, now is showing a runway icon, and planes are trying to land on it, which is what's happening just outside New York with the Apple iPhone Maps upgrade. It's up to you. No one is forcing you to do anything. So the launch date of Joomla 3 is the 27th of September. Yeah, that's firm. It will be released on Thursday, the 27th of September. What time? I don't know. I mean, I could lie. I could say, in fact, I can tell you for certain, it will be released at 9 o'clock. That gives us 24 attempts to make that 9 o'clock release date. Because, of course, Joomla is a global project. And there's at least 24 9 o'clocks in the world. There's probably a few more because of some of those islands that moved across the date and time thing. But it will be released on the 27th of September. So that's all for Joomla 3. Just a few little shameless plugs. Joomla has its first ever world conference in San Jose, California, at eBay. eBay very kindly given us what they call their town hall. It's a very big town hall. It's lots and lots of conference buildings. We've got over 80 different speakers, different sessions over 3 days. Special offer price is only $199, not zloty. It would be nice if it was zloty, but it's not. Everybody's welcome, and I hope to see many of you there. One more shameless plug. Everybody who's here at Joomla Day is entitled to 20 days free access to the Joomla Shack University, which is not Joomla, it's Joomla Shack, which is a company I do work for. We have a series of training videos. Right now we've got Joomla 1.5 and Joomla 2.5, but on the 1st of October, if I work really, really hard, we'll have a full introductory course to Joomla 3 online available for you. A word of warning, it's 20 days free access. On the 20th day, your credit card will be charged for the next month, which is $25 a month. So if you don't want to start paying, make a note in your diary and cancel it before the 20 days. So I'm just telling you that now so that nobody in a month's time says, you said it was free. It says 20 days free. Yeah? So you would need to cancel it beforehand, but it's there. You just need to sign up and use the code JUMPolska. And if for anyone has a problem, my email address is there as well. By all means, email me. I do get a lot of emails, so don't expect a quick answer. I don't tend to filter the spam on my email account. I like to read the spam. Always makes me smile. Of course, I've always wanted to reply to those emails that's with an answer. It's already always like that, and it's very, very big. Do you not have something that makes it smaller and softer? But I've never quite had the courage to actually reply to that because I'd hate to see what response I would actually get. So if anybody has any questions, not now. The rule is, if you want to ask Brian a question, you have to give him a coffee or a beer. Yeah, not Polish vodka. We did that last night. Okay? But a coffee or a beer, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions at all that you may have. Thank you very much.